Hello and welcome to the Doctor's Corner. I'm your host as always, Dr. Mark Pinsky, and today we have a show that's about love, it's about inspiration, and clearly it's about the human spirit. I'm proud to have with me Aran Hissam, who is the founder and the coordinator of the Brianna Marie Foundation. I'm going to bring her on so she can talk all about her history and just be prepared. You may need some tissues here along the way. Aran and I have known each other for probably 15 years, both on a professional and a personal level, and it really is a privilege for me to have her on the show. I've tried for a long time. She's very busy. So I bring to you Aran Hissam.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. So let's talk about the Brianna Marie Foundation. Let's talk about how you created it, why it was created, what it represents.
Okay, so
I gave you all that.
I know, seriously. So back in 2012, I was pregnant with my third child and diagnosed in utero with a condition that's called fetal hydrops. And at the time, we didn't know what it was, how you treat it, what the diagnosis really meant for, life after the pregnancy. So we started on a mission to save our daughter. There are not many doctors in Brevard County that can treat this type of condition, because what we did learn is that it does require fetal surgery. So we traveled the country. We were in Philadelphia, we were in Orlando, we were in all different places, and we ended up at at Jackson Memorial Hospital down in Miami. And that's where we met our fetal surgeon, who ultimately changed our life. And he gave us what we needed at the time, which was hope. And it was hope to try to save our daughter. And I guess I should probably explain a little bit what fetal surgery is. So fetal surgeries are surgeries that are performed on babies prior to birth. And the majority of the time it's because a severe condition has been identified. But what we now know is that the surgeries can provide an intervention which can offer significant changes in the development of the fetus so that they can go on to live a long, normal, healthy life. So that's what we tried, and we tried it 3 different times back in 2012, and ultimately what Brianna was diagnosed with was a condition called fetal hydrops. So fetal hydrops is where there's an accumulation of fluid in the baby's lungs and then in another spot in their body, and in our case it was her stomach. So what the surgeries did was they inserted shunts, and this is all done through ultrasound and through large needles that are inserted, into my stomach at the time while I was pregnant. And I did watch on the monitor as it was all happening. It was almost a surreal experience. But the shunts were placed on both sides of Brianna's lungs, and once they're inserted, it kind of looked like a little pigtail, and the pigtail went on both sides, and then it drained the fluid. So we saw within 24 hours significant lung growth because the fluid didn't exist anymore, and it also helped to decrease the fluid in her stomach. So we ended up having to do that 3 different times because the way that the shunts were developed were she stuck her little fingers in and pulled them out. So we know that we knew that was something that we were going to have to deal with, because if they couldn't stay in place, the fluid continued to accumulate, and we had to find ways to drain it. So Brianna was born on March 16th of 2012, and she lived for 15 hours. And I always say that those 15 hours changed who I am, because they gave me something that it's still hard to sometimes put into words, but it's why we're here. It's why the Brianna Marie Foundation was created, and it's why we're trying to give hope for other parents that have been given a negative fetal diagnosis.
Wow. Every time I hear the story, I've heard it multiple times. I get very emotional about it. You know that. I think that you're an amazing human. To be able to just tell that part is very, very amazing to me. Let's talk about some positive things. What's happened since Brianna's passing, and how has research carried forward, and where are we?
So I will set the precursor that I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am just a mom that wants to give hope to other moms. And when you're on that side of the exam table and you're given a diagnosis like that, it's impossible to put into words, but I can tell you that I can relate to every other parent that has been given that diagnosis. So what I wanted to do with the Brianna Marie Foundation was to offer hope. And the only way I knew to do that with the medical background that I had was to figure out ways that we could do additional research to offer that hope. So 2019 was our biggest year to date. We've been incorporated since 2012. It was something I wanted to do right after Brianna had passed away. And in 2019, we've worked in the field of fetal medicine, so it's not just around fetal lung. We've done a number of different things, such as offer clinical outcome trials for babies that are diagnosed with a condition that's called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, which is where one twin is receiving the majority of the amniotic fluid and the nutrients versus the other twin. So you have to go in through the fetal surgery, laser the umbilical cord, and distribute the nutrients. Do you like my technical terms for that? And then we've done a number of, so we had clinical outcome trials with that. And that, I think, is, of all the things we did last year, that was a project that took about 3 years. And the study looked at babies who have received a fetal surgery and those who have not. And the study proved that children that receive fetal surgeries are then able to live a long, healthy life, and that the cognitive development of a child with a fetal surgery and without are very similar. And so that's what we wanted to prove, that fetal surgeries we knew saved lives, but sometimes you need to prove that in order to get FDA approval to move forward to do other things. So to see Brianna's name printed in this clinical trial, I think was one of the best and biggest accomplishments we've had to date. We've also done some spina bifida studies where there's a hole in your spinal cord, and we know that babies that are diagnosed with this in utero can be paralyzed. So if surgeons technically right now are, they're doing surgeries where they open the entire abdomen, but there's other ways to do it. So we've funded studies to look at different ways by providing the surgeons with different tools that they required, along with simulators. And in May of last year, one of the first babies that was diagnosed with one of the most severe forms of spina bifida was born and was wiggling their toes, which is just unheard of. So, hearing stories that we were a part of that, it's just heartwarming. We've done things with the University of California where they're looking at developing databases to list all of the families and babies that are associated with fetal hydrops, which is what, like I said, Brianna had. So once you get the databases in a collection of all of the different genotypes that children are diagnosed with, you can then develop ways to best treat them. There's different methods. Some require surgery, some require medication, but because it is considered a rare illness, you need to have the data in order to share with other physicians so that they know best methods that have worked in the past.
So I've seen some things on your Facebook page, right, that involve people who are surviving.
Yes.
Correct? So share a little bit about, because I really don't know. This is not a setup. I just really don't know. What's been done, not just by maybe your foundation, but by others working in conjunction with you to help patients. I don't think people understand that fetal hydrops is, or has been, a real, nobody survives.
No, it was a death sentence, right?
I hated to say
No, it is. I mean, the chance of survival when you're diagnosed with fetal hydrops is 0 if you're not given some type of intervention. If you're you can be diagnosed a little bit later, but the majority, it's very grim. So we worked with one patient specifically that was diagnosed in utero that needed to require a fetal blood transfusion, which is considered a fetal surgery. And baby Ava is our little walking miracle that we have that, it was a really tough road. She was in the NICU for a long time, but she is the example of why you fight and why you need to continue offering hope. She's now a healthy little 4-year-old that I got to spend some time with this summer, and it's just, it was heartwarming.
Yeah, that's what I saw on Facebook. It was, I told everybody, man, you better get tissues because I'm having a hard time. But it is warming for me to know, obviously as a physician, that there's so many people out there that you're offering this hope to. Now, I do know that and we'll get to this a little later about the race and all that stuff, but you really work with people from all over the world, right?
We do. Mm-hmm.
And so you work with some of the most prestigious physicians when it comes to this, correct?
I do, because there's not that many of them. So I do get to work with them. No, there are, we've had the opportunity to work with a number of different physicians. I was taken under the wing of the Fetal Health Foundation out of Colorado, and they really kind of taught me different ways to get awareness out and how to provide funding that was through a very legit way that had follow-up, and that, I didn't want to just put all of the hard-earned dollars that we had raised into something that didn't have successful outcomes. So I've been blessed to have people just, mentor me and work with me. And yes, I work with Dr. Ruben Quintero very closely. He's out of Miami, and he has his own Fetal Health Institute where he's and his Dr. Contopoulos do fetal surgeries in Florida, which I will say is, I think, the best place around. No, okay. No, I'm not biased at all. But it is true. There's only really a handful of facilities in the country that can handle the type of surgeries that are being done. If you think about it, you're operating on a baby's organs that are about the size of a pea. So you have to go in utero and find these organs and fix them. And to do something like that takes some skill and mindset and thinking outside of the box that it just blows my mind. So if any help that I can offer to these doctors, I'm willing to do.
Now, wasn't there another physician? I may be my memory, I'm getting old now. So I remember when we first started, or when you first started the foundation, the very first race or the second race that we did for the fundraiser, wasn't there someone that came from overseas that came to that? Or am I hallucinating now?
There were families that had come from overseas that we've helped to mentor.
Okay.
Yes, we've had people from all over the state to Canada, all different states that come to the run, because when you lose a child to fetal hydrops, there just isn't anything out there really that focuses just on that. So,
outstanding,
yes.
Outstanding. So I'm not totally losing.
No, you did remember correctly.
Okay.
Did you medal that race? I think you did.
I did medal.
Yeah,
that
you
race.
did. Okay, we'll
I
see
have
about
not
this
medaled
year.
Since that time.
Okay.
But I did medal that
Okay.
race. I almost came in first. I just want you to know that. Not that I'm competitive.
Okay. We'll see how this year goes.
Well, this year we're going to talk about that. So let's talk about what's going to happen in 2020. Where do you want the fetal surgery world to go?
So that's a really good question.
I know, you gave it to me.
So, fetal surgery since 2012 has taken leaps and bounds from where it was when I went through it to where it is today. And some of the things that the surgeons are doing and the different steps that they're taking and the advances in technology, everything from, 3D printing and MRI scans to the different tools that are being developed. I mean, the opportunities are endless. I think more testing needs to be done around genetic abnormalities, and I'd like to do a little bit more with that, because I think if we can identify genetically what the problem is, that's going to help us early on give better solutions and treatment options. The one thing that I do think is lacking in this fetal world, and it's something that I experienced, is that sometimes when you go through a child's death, that's a whole different side to, in my opinion, fetal medicine that needs to be explored. So I'd like to do more with counseling and offering different types of services to parents that lose a child.
That's, I could basically say that with almost every area of medicine I've seen, right? Whether it be geriatrics or whether it be teenagers or whether it be just patients that I've had in general. There's not a lot out there, particularly in Brevard, where you get a lot of support. Unfortunately, the psychiatrists are super busy. You can't get in to see a psychiatrist. Psychologists are super busy. Therapists are super busy. But there's no good place for people to really go to get that that support, to help.
Right. And it's almost like if you're an alcoholic, if you're paired with someone that has been a recovering alcoholic, that benefit is so much more than being someone through, someone who has never gone through it. And that's how I feel about losing a child. Unless you've actually experienced it, you can't imagine it. So if you're paired with someone that's lived through it and can come out with something positive from it, I think that offers so much benefit to these parents.
Yeah,
So
no doubt about that. And again, I know that for you, it's a thing of passion for you, right? It's just something that's inside your soul. But I also do know that the amount of effort that it takes for you to do it and your husband to do it, and the whole family is really, really difficult. So I think anybody who's lost anybody understands how devastating that is. Mm-hmm. But I do agree with you. Until you, God forbid, lose a child, you don't really understand it. Right. And even though I've seen family after family who've undergone tragedy, you can't know unless you've experienced. Right. So I do agree with that. Can we talk about how much money you've raised so far? Because I think that's pretty cool.
So to date, we've raised $350,000, not including for 2020 what we'll put. Awesome. So we're hoping for another $50,000 this year.
That's awesome. Okay, so just Little Brevard County.
Just Little Brevard, yes. Okay. We do have donors from outside of Brevard, but yes, Brevard County is where Brianas Race is always held, and so that's it's significant. All
right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about this race, because this is something that's, as you know, near and dear to my heart. I often miss this race because we do something special as a family. So this year we're here.
Yes.
And this year I vowed that I would get my whole office staff to do this, and we did. And next year I vowed to you, so now it's
on.
It's on video. Now I vow that we will invite all the patients to do it that are in my practice. We'll open it up and try to get as many people as we can to this. Not that you need more people, but
we will take them.
You'll take them. And it's always an amazing event. So I want to talk about the event itself because it's really a spectacular event.
Thank you. So it's a 5K. One of the tools that I used to cope with a loss was running, and that turned into, if I like to run, maybe everybody else will too. So we partner with a running zone here in Brevard County, and we put on a 5K every March, which is the month that Brianna was born. So it signifies her birthday for us.
So Aran, where is the event going to be held this year?
So this year and every year it's held at Wickham Park. We have it starting at 8 a.m. and the butterfly release, the 5K starts at 8 a.m. The butterfly release is at 7:30. And then following the 5K is the kids run and all the kids activities, the silent auction, and the age group awards.
That's the part I want to emphasize. This is just not for you crazy adults. This is really a family event.
It is.
It is so cool to watch this. There's umpteen kids out there.
There are.
And it's a blast to watch these kids. They all have a great time. Everybody has a great time. And it really is something special to know that even in just our little county, that something like this could happen. Roughly, and I know this year will be different, but roughly in the past, how many people come to this event?
We have about 500 runners on average, and about 750 people come because they like to, watch the runners and participate in the events that we have. And I can't tell you what it means to our family to see, Brianna's signs posted outside and to see her name on car magnets and to see the support that we've received from this community.
I want a car magnet, by the way, next year. I want a car magnet. You promise?
It may end up on your car, too.
That's fine. I'll take it. I will take it. I will absolutely take it. Okay. I want us to break 1,000 this year. Let's break 1,000. I want 1,000 people there.
All right.
We can do it. Let's get 1,000 Brevardian people, whatever we're going to call them.
Great.
We're going to get you out there, and we're going to support Brianna Marie because it is a special event.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to share with everybody before we part?
Can I give them the website?
You may, absolutely. It'll be on the bottom of your screen, but you go ahead.
So it's BriannaMarieFoundation.com, and just click on the registration link. The event is on March 7th. It starts at 8 a.m., and we'll start the warm-ups and the butterfly release around 7:30 a.m. So we hope to see everyone out there.
All right. Listen, this is special for me. You know that.
Thank you.
I'm a huge supporter of yours.
You are, and I appreciate that.
And I'm not saying that. I am a huge fan. I am, and a big fan of your husband and a big fan of those kids who have been through a lot. And I really can't thank you enough for coming on. I know how busy you are.
Thank you.
For Aran Hissam, I am Dr. Mark Pinsky. You've been watching The Doctor's Corner. This is Dr. Mark Pinsky once again, asking you to forward questions to us, whether regarding this episode or any of our past episodes, at drmarkscorner@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to check us out on our website, pinskywellness.com or pinskyweightloss.com. We look forward to hearing all of your questions, and we'll get back to you as soon as we do. Y'all have a great week.